was 5247 by Earth's old counter. Nobody remembered the exact date anymore. Time had become something different when you lived among the stars, but everyone remembered peace. 3,000 years of it. 3,000 years since the last war had been fought anywhere in the galaxy. Well, Daniel Carter was 63 years old. He had gray hair and tired eyes, but his mind was sharp. He stood on the observation deck of the Starship Resilience and watched the stars. The ship was old by modern standards, built for exploration and diplomacy. It had never fired a weapon in its entire existence. There had Daniel. Neither had his father or his grandfather or anyone in his family for third generations. It was all humanity knew now. Peace was all the galaxy knew. Galactic conquered had 17 species living together in harmony. They traded with each other. They shared knowledge. They visited each other's worlds as tourists and friends. War was something from history books, something ancient and strange that nobody really understood anymore. Humanity had joined the conquered 400 years ago when they first learned to travel faster than light. They were the young species, the members. The other races looked at humans the way adults look at children. Kind, patient, a little amused. And Commander Amy walked onto the observation deck. She was 31, with short brown hair and a serious face. She had been Daniel's second in command for 5 years. Admiral, she said, the fleet is coming out of hyperspace. He'll nod slowly. He had been expecting this. They had requested a meeting, which was strange. They rarely talked to anyone. They were an ancient race older than most. Crystalline beings made of living stone and light. They had conquered half the galaxy once, 1,000,000 years ago, before the conquered had forced them to stop. How many ships? Daniel asked. Checked her tablet. Her face went pale. 10,000, sir. Daniel turned to look at her. That was not a diplomatic fleet. That was an army. Walked to the bridge together. The crew was already at their station, but nobody looked worried. Why would they be? There had been no war in 3,000 years. This was probably just a show of strength. They liked to show off. Maine flickered and appeared. His name was Eth, and he was the high emissary of the Empire. His body was made of purple crystal, with veins of red light running through him like blood. When he spoke, his voice sounded like stones grinding together. Humanity, Eth said, I bring you a message. Daniel sat down in his captain's chair. We are listening, emissary. His crystal face could not smile, but somehow Daniel knew he was pleased with himself. Behind the emissary, they showed thousands of warships. They were huge, each one bigger than a city. Their weapons glowed with power that had not been used in. The conquered has grown weak, Eth announced. Your so-called protectors have forgotten how to fight. They have become soft, peaceful, useless. Daniel said nothing. He just watched. I've waited long enough, the emissary continued. We have rebuilt our strength in secret. We have prepared for the moment for 10,000 years, and now we are ready to take what is ours. What do you want? Daniel asked. His voice was calm. Everything. As red veins pulsed brighter. We hereby declare war upon humanity. You are the weakest of the conquered races. You have no military. You have no weapons. You have nothing but your pathetic little ships and your soft, fragile bodies. Bridge crew shifted in their seats. Some of them looked scared. Others looked confused. War? What was war? They had read about it, but reading out something and living it were very different things. I have 7 solar cycles to surrender all your worlds, Eth said. If you do not surrender, we will destroy you. Every human, every colony, every ship. We will wipe your species from existence and no one will stop us. Pause, waiting for Daniel to beg, waiting for fear, waiting for panic. Now Carter leaned back in his chair. He looked at the 10,000 warships on his screen. He looked at the ancient alien who had just declared the extinction of his species. And then he laughed. It was not a nervous laugh. It was not a scared laugh. It was a real laugh, deep and genuine, like someone had told him a very good joke. He stared at him. The whole bridge stared at him. On the Eth's crystal body flickered with confusion. Days? Daniel said, still chuckling. That is very generous of you. Tell me, emissary, did you think that was enough time for us to be afraid? Do not understand, Eth said. His voice was harder now, angry. We have studied your species for centuries. You have no fleet. Your worlds have no defenses. You stopped building weapons 3,000 years ago. You are helpless. He stopped laughing, but the smile stayed on his face. It was a strange smile, a dark smile, the kind of smile that made Amy feel cold even though she did not know why. Let me tell you something about humans, Daniel said slowly. We did not stop building weapons because we forgot how. We stopped because we got too good at it. It was silent. I think 3,000 years of peace made us weak, Daniel shook his head. No, emissary. 3,000 years of peace was our gift to the galaxy. We held ourselves back. We buried what we were. We pretended to be harmless because that was the kind thing to do. He stood up from his chair and walked close to the screen. His eyes were not tired anymore. They were burning. Just made a very big mistake, Daniel said quietly. You woke us up, and now you are going to learn why every species in the galaxy should have left humanity alone. Pressed a button and ended the communication. As face disappeared from the screen, replaced by the stars. Bridge was silent. Nobody knew what to say. Their admiral had just laughed at a declaration of war. Their admiral had just threatened an empire that had conquered half the galaxy. Sir, Aang said carefully, what do we do now? And he'll turn to her. The dark smile was still on his face. Now, he said, we send a signal. There are people who have been waiting for the moment for 3,000 years. People who trained in secret. People who kept our real weapons safe and ready. Walked to his command console and entered a code that had been passed down through his family for generations. A code he had hoped he would never have to use. Wake them up, he said. Wake them all up. We're deep in space, in places no one knew out. Old machines began to stir. Lights flickered on in the darkness. Computers that had been sleeping started to think again. Humanity had been peaceful for 3,000 years. That peace was about to end. Signal traveled faster than light. It moved through hidden channels that no alien species knew existed. It reached every human world, every colony, every ship floating in the dark between stars. And everywhere it went, things began to wake up. Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a door that had not opened in 2,800 years began to move. The door was made of metal so thick that nothing could break through it. It had been sealed with codes that only a handful of humans knew. Lisa Morgan was waiting outside the door. She was 45 years old, with red hair turning gray and eyes that had seen too many old files and forgotten secrets. She had spent her whole life studying what humanity used to be, the wars, the weapons, the violence that had nearly destroyed her species again and again. Had thought it was all history, just sad stories from a dark time. She was wrong. Price walked up beside her. He was 97 years old, kept alive by modern medicine. His body was thin and weak, but his mind was still sharp. He was one of the last humans who remembered what his ancestors had told him, the truth about what humanity had hidden away. Are you ready, doctor? He asked. Lisa shook her head. I do not think I can ever be ready for this. Door finished opening. Beyond it was a tunnel that led deep into the mountain. Lights flickered on as they walked, one by one, showing them the way down. Think they know us, said as they walked. They studied our trade ships and our diplomat. They watched us smile and shake hands and make friends with everyone we met. Lisa nodded. She had seen the reports. They had spied on humanity for centuries. They had watched and weighed and planned. Saw what we wanted them to see, continued. What we wanted everyone to see, the peaceful humans, the friendly humans, the harmless little species that joined the conquered and played by the rules. Reached the end of the tunnel. Another door opened and Lisa stopped breathing. For her was a cavern so big that she could not see the end of it. The ceiling was lost in darkness high above, and filling the cavern, row after row after row, were machines. Weapons, things she did not even recognize, all of them dark and silent, covered in 3,000 years of dust. Built these before we joined the conquered, said quietly. We built them during the last war, when humanity finally decided that we had to stop fighting each other or we would destroy ourselves. So walked forward slowly. She ducked the side of one of the ships. It was cold and smooth, made of a metal she did not recognize. We met the other species, continued. We made a choice. We would be peaceful. We would be kind. We would bury our weapons in our dark history and pretend that we had always been the way. But you kept them, Leah whispered. You kept all of this. Yes, not because we knew something that the other species did not understand. Humans did not become peaceful because we evolved past violence. We became peaceful because we chose to be. Every generation we made that choice again, and every generation we knew that someday we might need to choose differently. Placed his hand on a console and lights began to flicker across the cavern. One by one, the old machines started to wake up. Engines hummed, screens glowed, weapon systems that had been sleeping began to power on. Founders of the Conquered knew that might happen, said. They knew that someday someone might try to destroy us, so they created the Keeper, families who would pass down the secrets, families who would train in the old ways in secret just in case. They stared at him. You are Keeper. He smiled, but it was a sad smile. I trained my whole life for a war I prayed would never come. My children trained. Their children trained. Generation after generation, hoping that all our preparation would be wasted. He looked around the cavern at the weighing machines. It was not wasted, he said. They gave us 7 days. That is more time than we need. Human space, the same scene was happening. On Mars, in the old mines that tourists never visited, doors were opening. On Titan, beneath the frozen lakes, ships were rising. In the asteroid belt, hidden stations were coming alive. In the deep space between stars, vessels that had been drifting in the darkness for 3,000 years were waking up. And everywhere the Keepers were gathering. Colony world of New Boston, a young woman named Cole received the signal. She was 30 years old, teacher at a small school. Her students knew her as kind and patient. They did not know that she spent her nights training in a hidden room beneath her house. They did not know that she could take apart a weapon and put it back together in the dark. They did not know that her family had been waiting for this signal for 100 generations. Went to her basement. She opened a door that looked like it led to a storage room. Behind it was another door, and behind that was a small armory that her great-great-grandfather had built. Husband Cole was already there. He was putting on a uniform that had not been worn in 3,000 years. It really did, it said. They actually declared war on us. She picked up a sidearm and checked it. The weapon still worked perfectly. The Keepers had maintained everything. Did you call your brother? She asked. He's already on his way to the assembly point. His whole unit is moving. Looked at her. What about the children? Mother will take care of them. Put on her own uniform. It fit perfectly. She had been wearing it in secret since she was 16. We knew that day might come. We trained for this. I know. He walked over to her and held her hand. I just hoped it never would. Squeezed his hand. Then she let go and became the soldier she had always been trained to be. You have work to do, she said. The galaxy is about to remember why humanity stopped fighting. Across all of human space, 1 billion Keepers were putting on their uniforms. 1 billion soldiers who had trained in secret their whole lives. 1 billion warriors who had prayed they would never have to fight. Prayers had not been answered, but they were ready. The flagship Eth watched the human worlds through his sensors. He was looking for panic. He was looking for chaos. He was looking for humans running and screaming and begging for mercy. Instead, he saw nothing. Human worlds were quiet. The human ships were not fleeing. The humans were not sending desperate messages asking for peace. They were just waiting. Thing is wrong, Eth said to his advisors. Are paralyzed with fear, one of them said. They cannot believe what is happening. They will surrender soon. Eth was not so sure. He had seen the human admiral laugh at him. He had heard the strange words about gifts and sleeping giants. He had seen something in those human eyes that he did not understand. The first time in 10,000 years, Ed felt a small whisper of doubt. Push it away. Humans were weak. Humans were young. Humans had no military, no weapons, no way to fight. There was nothing to fear. He was wrong. Galactic Conquered met on a world called Axiom Prime. It was a neutral planet built just for meetings like this one. No species owned it. No species controlled it. It belonged to everyone. The chamber was a great dome made of glass that showed the stars above. Representatives from all 17 species sat in a circle, each one in a chair designed for their body. Some were tall and thin. Some were short and round. Some were made of light or gas or living crystal. They were all very different. Right now, they all felt the same thing, fear. Ambassador Brooks walked into the chamber slowly. He was human, 60 years old, with white hair and a calm face. He had been the human ambassador for 20 years. The other species knew him well. They liked him. He was always polite, always friendly, always ready to help solve problems. He looked different. There was something hard in his eyes that they had never seen before. Ambassador spoke first. She was a being of pure energy, floating above her chair like a small sun. Her name was Ara, and she was very old and very wise. Ambassador Brooks, she said, her voice like music. We are so sorry. We have heard what they have done. This is terrible news. I but said nothing. Conqueror does not have the power to stop them, Ara continued. Our peace has lasted because no one wanted to fight. They have hidden their true strength from us for. Their fleet is too large. Their weapons are too powerful. Ambassador, a creature that looked like a giant spider made of gold, spoke next. His name was. Perhaps we can negotiate, said. If humanity surrenders its outer colonies, they might accept that. Your species could survive, smaller but alive. For Ambassador or not, this seemed reasonable to them. Lose a little to save the rest. That was how civilized beings solve problems. It was a strange smile, and it made several of the ambassadors uncomfortable. Thank you for your concern, he said, but I am not here to ask for help. The chamber fell silent. Then why are you here? Ara asked. Raised his hand, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed images that none of them had ever seen before. Humanity joined the conquered, said, "You asked us about our history. We told you that we were a young species, that we were just learning to reach the stars, that we had some problems in our past, but we had moved past them." It just began to move. They showed Earth a long time ago, ancient cities, primitive machines, and humans, millions of humans. Fighting. Aliens watching confusion. They saw armies marching across fields. They saw soldiers with swords cutting each other down. They saw ships firing cannons at each other on blue ocean. "We did not lie to you," continued, "but we did not tell you everything." It just changed. The technology became more advanced. The wars became bigger. Tanks rolled across burned landscapes. Planes dropped bombs on cities. Ships sank into the sea while flames rose into the sky. 10,000 years humanity fought itself, said. His voice was quiet, but everyone could hear him. Not for food, not for water, not because we needed to. We fought because we wanted to. We fought because we were good at it. We turned war into an art. We made killing into a science. It just showed two explosions. Two cities turned to dust and fire in an instant. Mushroom clouds riding into the sky. Invented weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds, said. We built bombs that could poison the land for centuries. We created diseases that could wipe out millions. And we used them on ourselves. Batter stared at the images. Some of them looked sick. The ambassador, a small furry creature, was shaking. It had 2 wars that covered the whole world. Hundreds of millions died. After that, we built weapons that could crack our own planet in half. Paused. We almost used them, several times. We came within minutes of destroying ourselves completely. It just stopped on a picture of Earth from space. Blue and green and white, beautiful and fragile. Then we stopped, said. We looked at what we had done. We looked at what we had become. And we decided to change. Not because we evolved past violence. Not because we forgot how to fight. But because we saw what we were capable of and we were afraid of ourselves. Turned off the display and looked around the chamber. We found the conquered. We made a choice. We would be peaceful. We would be kind. We would hide our weapons and pretend that we had always been the way. We would be the harmless humans that everyone expected us to be. His light flickered with distress. Why hide this from us? You would never have trusted us, said simply. Would you have welcomed a species that had killed hundreds of millions of its own kind? Would you have traded with us? Would you have let us near your children? Silence answered the question. Wanted peace, continued. We really did. After 10,000 years of blood and death, we were tired. We wanted to be better, so we buried everything. The weapons, the ships, the terrible things we had learned to do. We sealed them away and told ourselves we would never use them again. You took a deep breath. We never forgot. We never truly believed that peace would last forever, so we prepared. In secret, we trained soldiers who would never fight. In hidden places, we maintained weapons we hoped to never use. For 3,000 years, we kept ourselves ready for the day when someone would try to take our peace away. Batter spoke up. His voice was trembling. Are you saying that humanity still has weapons? Looked at him, yes. How many? I'll again that strange dark smile. Enough. Walked toward the center of the chamber, looking at each ambassador in turn. I think they're a tang, a weak species. They think 3,000 years made us soft. They think we forgot how to fight. He shook his head. They are wrong. We did not forget. We chose to stop. And now we are choosing to start again. He turned back to Aura. Not here to ask for help, he said. I am here to warn you. What happens next will be violent. It will be fast. And when it is over, the galaxy will understand something that it should have understood a long time ago. What is that? Aura whispered. We are not peaceful because we are weak, said quietly. We are peaceful because we are terrifying, and we choose not to be. He began to walk out of the chamber. At the door, he stopped and looked back. The other species to stay out of our way, he said. This will be over soon. Then he left. Batter sat in silence for a long time. They had known humans for 400 years. They had thought they understood them. They had been wrong. Somewhere in the dark between stars, the human fleet was gathering. Ships that had slept for 3,000 years were flying again. Weapons that had been sealed away were powering up. Soldiers who had trained in secret their whole lives were putting on their uniforms. Had declared war on humanity. We're about to learn why that was a mistake. 7 days passed. The fleet moved through space like a river of purple light. 10,000 ships, each one the size of a small city. Their weapons were charged. Their soldiers were ready. They had waited 10,000 years for the moment. Sat on his command throne and watched the human border approach. He felt good. He felt powerful. In a few hours, he would begin the destruction of the young species in the conquered. In a few weeks, he would move on to the next species, and the next, until the rule of the galaxy went more. One of his officers said, we are detecting activity near the Epsilon Quadrant. What kind of activity? Ed asked. Eps are human ships. Its crystal face twisted into what might have been a smile. So the humans were going to fight after all. Good, that would make the victory. How many ships? He asked. Officer checked his sensors. Then he checked them again. His crystalline body began to flicker with confusion. That cannot be right, he whispered. How many? Ed demanded. 1,000, the officer said. No, wait, the number keeps growing. 40,000, 50,000. Stood up from his throne. That is impossible. Human space only has a few hundred vessels. The sensors did not lie. Ships were appearing from everywhere. They were coming out of asteroids and moons. They were rising from hidden bases on dead planets. They were flying out of the darks between stars where night should have been. They were not the soft, round ships that the galaxy knew. These ships were different. They were angular and sharp, built with no beauty and no comfort. They were built for only one thing. War. And her Cole stood on the bridge of the warship Defiance. The ship had been sleeping in a hidden base near Saturn for 20 centuries. Now it was awake, and so was she. Around her, the bridge crew worked in perfect silence. They had trained for the moment their whole lives. Their parents had trained for it. Their grandparents had trained for it. 100 generations of preparation, all leading to this day. Ship report ready, Lieutenant Edwards announced. He was husband, though on that bridge they spoke like soldiers, not pilots. She looked at where the fleet was visible as a cloud of purple dots. When a channel, he said. It appeared on the screen. For the first time, he did not look confident. His crystalline body was flickering with colors she had never seen before. Fierce, she realized. The Great was afraid. What is this? Ed demanded. Where did these ships come from? Looked at him calmly. You really did not know. You spent centuries spying on us, and you never found our real fleet. Real fleet? Ed's voice cracked. You had no fleet. Your worlds had no defenses. It's what we wanted you to think. Leaned forward in her chair. Did you really believe that a species that spent 10,000 years fighting itself would forget how in just 3,000 years of peace? Did you think we would throw away everything we learned just because we decided to be nice? And her fleet, more ships were arriving. The number had passed 70,000 now and was still growing. Buried our weapons, continued. We hid our soldiers. We pretended to be harmless little humans who needed the conqueror to protect them. But we never stopped preparing. We never stopped training. We never stopped building. He stood up and walked toward the screen. Give us 7 days. We only needed one. Every hidden base is awake now. Every ship is flying. Every soldier is armed. You are facing the real human military Eth, the one we hoped we would never have to use. Stared at her. For 10,000 years, they had been the most feared species in the galaxy. For 10,000 years, no one had dared to challenge them. Now a human one was looking at him like he was nothing. Still outmatched, he said, but his voice was weak. Our weapons are ancient and powerful. Our technology is far beyond yours. It was the same dark smile that Admiral Carter had worn a week ago. Weapons were designed to fight aliens, she said. Species that had evolved past violence. Species that had forgotten how to wage real war. You conquered soft enemies, peaceful enemies, enemies who surrendered when you hurt them enough. He pointed at the screen. Weapons were designed to fight humans, the most violent, stubborn, creative species in the history of the galaxy. We spent 10,000 years trying to kill each other. We built weapons that could crack planets. We invented ways to poison whole star systems. We created machines that could think and fight on their own. She let that sink in. We're not fighting aliens today, Ev. You are fighting humans, and you are using alien weapons against us. She shook her head. That was a mistake. Straightened his crystal form. He still had 10,000 ships. He still had the ancient power of the Empire. He would not surrender to these children. Attack, he screamed. Destroy them all. Fleet surged forward. Herbal energy beams landed across space. Missiles flew toward the human ships. The battle had begun. It ended almost immediately. The ships moved in ways they could not understand. They were faster, more agile, more precise. They dodged the weapons and returned fire with things that they had never seen before. Light erupted across the battlefield. Ships shattered like glass. Their shields, which had been unbreakable before, flickered and died under the human assault. Watched from her bridge as her fleet took part in the formation. The battle was not fair. It was not close. They were an ancient species that had forgotten how to truly fight. They relied on their reputation and their numbers. Humans had spent 3,000 years preparing for exactly this kind of enemy. A flagship is attempting to retreat, reported. Not let them, said. Ed declared war on humanity. He promised to wipe out our species. He does not get to run away. Human ships surrounded the flagship. Ed watched from his bridge as his escort was destroyed around him. 10,000 ships, the pride of his empire, reduced to burning wreckage in less than an hour. This is impossible, he whispered. We studied you for centuries. You were weak. You were soft. You were nothing. A voice came through his communicator. It was Admiral Daniel Carter, speaking from the Resilience. We're never weak, Carter said. We chose to be gentle. There's a difference, a very important difference that you are now learning the hard way. His crystal body began to crack, not from damage, but from stress, from the impossible reality that was unfolding around him. Battle is over, Carter continued. Your fleet is destroyed. You will surrender unconditionally, or we will continue until there is nothing left of the Empire. With had no choice, he gave the order. War had lasted 47 minutes. Humanity had won. A month after the war began, it ended. Empire, which had terrified the galaxy for 100,000 years, was gone, not destroyed, but broken. Their fleets were scrap metal floating in the void. They was occupied by human soldiers. Their leaders were prisoners on human ships. Sat in a cell on the Defiance. His once proud crystal body was dull and cracked. He spent his days staring at the wall, trying to understand what had happened. He had studied humanity for centuries. He had planned every detail of his attack. He had been so certain of victory. He had lost in less than an hour. Nicole visited him once. She stood outside his cell and looked at him with something that might have been pity. Why, I had asked her, why did you pretend to be weak? Why did you let us believe we could defeat you? But about the question for a long moment. We wanted to believe it ourselves, she said finally. We wanted to believe that we had changed, that we were not the violent, dangerous species we used to be. We pretended to be harmless because we hoped that pretending would make it true. His cracked face turned toward her, but it was a lie. No, said quietly. We really did change. We really did become peaceful. We really did want to be kind and gentle and good. But changing what you are is not the same as forgetting what you were. We never forgot. We just hoped we would never have to remember. He walked away, leaving Ed alone with his defeat. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The young species in the Conqueror had crushed the oldest empire in less than a day. Humans, the soft little creatures that everyone had thought they understood, were suddenly something else entirely. Something frightening. Maxime Prime, the Galactic Conqueror, met again. This time, when Ambassador Brooks walked into the chamber, no one greeted him with friendly words. They just watched him with wide, uncertain eyes. In the center of the chamber and looked at each ambassador in turn. He saw fear in their faces, fear of humanity, fear of what humans might do next. Understood that fear. He had felt it himself once when he first learned the truth about his own species. What you are thinking, he said. You are thinking about our ships, our weapons. You are wondering if we are going to use them again. You are wondering if we are going to conquer you the way we conquered them. Silent was very loud. Could admit it. I will not lie to you. We have the power to do it. Our fleet is larger than all of yours combined. Our weapons are more powerful than anything the galaxy has ever seen. If we wanted to rule, no one could stop us. Ambassador R finally spoke. Her voice was small and scared. Well, you? Not the dark smile he had worn before, but a gentle one, a tired one. Oh, he said, we will not. Walked toward Ara and stopped in front of her. It's the part you still do not understand about us, he said. We do not want to fight. We never did. Every war we ever fought, we fought hoping it would be the last one. Every weapon we built praying we would never use it. For 10,000 years, we tried to destroy each other, and for 10,000 years, we kept choosing to stop. Turned to address the whole chamber. Made a mistake. They thought our peace was weakness. They thought 3,000 years of kindness meant we had forgotten how to be dangerous. They were wrong, but so were you. You paused. Thought we were harmless. You thought we were children who needed protection. You never imagined that the happy, friendly humans who traded with you and visited your worlds were the same species that once invented weapons that could crack planets. He spread his hands. Both, that is the truth about humanity. We are capable of terrible violence and beautiful kindness. We can destroy and we can create. We can hate and we can love. And every single day we choose which one we want to be. Admiral Daniel Carter stood on the observation deck of the Resilience. The battle was over. They were defeated. The human fleet was slow powering down, preparing to return to the hidden bases where they would sleep again. Then Commander Amy stood beside him. You think they will remember, she asked. The other species, do you think they will remember what we can do? Nod slowly. They will remember. They will tell their children about the day they attacked humanity and lost everything. Those children will tell their children. The story will spread to every corner of the galaxy, and everyone will know. Know what? Carter looked at her with tired old eyes. This is not a gift you receive. It is a choice you make. Every day, every moment, you choose to be peaceful or you choose to be violent. Humanity chose peace for 3,000 years, not because we were weak, not because we forgot how to fight, but because we knew exactly how terrible war could be, and we did not want to go back. He turned to look at the stars. The galaxy will be peaceful again, not because they are afraid of us, though maybe they are a little, but because they understand now what peace really means. It means having the power to destroy and choosing not to use it. It means being able to hurt and deciding to heal instead. It means being strong enough to fight and brave enough to put down your weapon. He thought about his words for a long time. What happens now? She finally asked. Smiled. Now we go home. We put our ship back to sleep. We return to our quiet lives. We go back to being the friendly, harmless humans that everyone thinks they know. And if someone else attacked us? Wake up again, Carter shrugged. That is the promise we made to ourselves 3,000 years ago. We will keep the peace as long as we can. We will be kind to everyone who is kind to us. But if anyone threatens our homes or our families, we will remember who we really are. Put his hand on Aim's shoulder. That is what it means to be human. We carry our darks inside us, but we choose to live in the light. We know how to be monsters, but we try to be angels instead. And sometimes, when someone forces us to, we remind the universe why the monsters are still there. The first human administrators were setting up their offices. They were fair and kind to the people. They helped rebuild what had been destroyed. They did not seek revenge or punishment. Could not understand it. How could the same species that had crushed their empire in 47 minutes be so gentle now? How could such terrible warriors become such compassionate rulers? They did not understand humanity. Perhaps they never would. But they would never forget. And that was enough. Master Brooks returned to his office on Earth. He sat at his desk and looked out the window at the blue sky and the green trees. It was a beautiful day, a peaceful day. He hoped it would stay that way. He knew it might not. For now, for the moment, humanity had done what it always did. It had faced the darkness and chosen the light. It had shown the galaxy its terrible strength and then put it away. 1,000 years of peace, broken by a war that lasted less than an hour, and now, hopefully, 3,000 more. He closed his eyes and let out a long breath. Human was not easy, carrying all the power, all the potential for violence, and choosing to be kind instead. It would have been easier to conquer the galaxy. It would have been simpler to rule through fear. But that was not who they wanted to be. That was never who they wanted to be. In the end, that was the real story, not the war, not the victory, not the terrible weapons or the ancient fleet. The real story was a species that had spent 10,000 years learning how to destroy and then spent 3,000 years choosing not to. The real story was humanity, and the galaxy would never forget it.